because people are buying fewer programs, because people are a little more strapped, there's this massive opportunity in the market now because people really truly need help. And so if you're like you're a therapist, people need practical tools to manage their stress and anxiety. And so rather than leaning away and saying, look, the market's so difficult, people aren't buying, this is actually the time that people need you to show up with your gifts. It's Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Conscious Marketer podcast. This is Richard here and joined by Kylie. Hi, Kylie.
Hey, everybody.
And we're going to start doing some what's working now kind of episodes because the market continues to evolve and change as more people come online and as the economy shifts. And kind of like all markets, that goes through fluctuations where things are come in and out of fads. So sometimes there's like these things that take over the market attention, and then sometimes it's a better buying market, and there's also seasonality. So I thought we would start with just kind of like a higher level context and talk about some seasonality in the market. And there are definitely times throughout the year that are better and worse depending on what market you're in and depending on where you live too. So for example, if you're in the Southern hemisphere, like Australia or New Zealand, then the seasons are a little bit different there, versus the Northern hemisphere. And then, so let's just talk about like, there's a couple of major cycles that we really look at. And what I thought I would just share is the first three cycles. And really as we're recording this podcast, we're in kind of the end of the year. And this is a good time to kind of pre-frame your offers for next year. Generally, between Thanksgiving in the United States and Christmas, traditionally, that has actually been the best months for book sales, Amazon book sales. And if you're like a product business, it's a great time. But for things like online courses, it's a little harder. And also it's just a lot more crowded because you're online, you're fighting ad spend because all the e-commerce companies are buying up all the ads online. So it can get more expensive even to market. Any thoughts on this first time period, Kylie, this end of the year time period, what you like to do or see with those you work with?
Well, I do just want to say one thing, which is I'm not a big fan of trying to mail right around Black Friday and right around Thanksgiving because I think it gets really, really lost in the noise. So I think there's a lot of temptation to put like, oh, let me put a Black Friday member or offer together. And I have a friend who has a membership site and she works really closely with Memberful, who is one of the main sites that people use. And they told her, try to do it a week before Black Friday because you're going to get the best results. So she's doing a launch on November 14th, 15th, and 16th. She's doing a 48-hour reopen to her membership site. And she shared with me that they said a week before Black Friday is better than actually that week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so you can kind of start to front some of the holidays. And the other consideration is a lot of times at the beginning of the year is when people want to sign up for like their bigger mentorships or higher ticket things often, or coaching. So what's a really good use of November, December is you can do some pre-enrollment. And I've seen this work really well. And even for, there's like a tax thing where if you can get somebody to enroll at the end of the year, they can deduct it in their business. And if they are over a certain tax bracket, they can save like 30-40% because they can write that off. And if they know they're going to buy it the next year, it's a really good incentive. On the flip side, a lot of people they want to give money. And so like you'll see a lot of charities market in December for a tax write-off for like nonprofits even. The second kind of cycle is the beginning of the year, kind of like I would say like there's kind of like the early beginning, the middle beginning, and then the kind of late or early spring. And so like in early January, I'll just share what we do. We don't actually like to market stuff like too heavily the first week of January, this first and second week, we might kind of start a launch. But the reason is people have kind of like a Christmas, New Year hangover. Their like bank accounts have been hit, and so you kind of need to give them some time. A lot of times they've been on vacation or traveling, and so you kind of need to give them some time to get back. So, but that from like that second and third week of January is where we would initiate some launches. That's a great time to do like membership sites and kind of start to enroll people in your coaching and your higher end masterminds. Even it's a great time to do. At the beginning of the year, people have all these ideas about what they want to do, fitness, relationship, health, money, et cetera, et cetera. And so they're looking, they've set their New Year's goals and they're kind of starting to look for help. So this is kind of a good time of year to think about that. What are your thoughts here, Kylie?
Yeah, I agree with the January thing. I think that towards the second part of the month, like you're talking about, I've seen in the last 13 years that be some of the best times to sell, like the absolute best times to sell of the entire year, because everybody is thinking, oh, I got to better myself. I got to get to the gym. I got to do this. I got to do that. And then they kind of by mid-February, they start to taper off or trail off on a lot of their goals. And so you want to get them when they're really excited for their goals. And you also want to offer in your program some level of accountability so that when people are thinking about that stuff, when they work with you, they actually are able to follow through with a lot of the things they're trying to do, whether it's health or and wellness or money or spirituality or relationships or whatever it may be that you're offering. You want to have some built-in system of accountability so that people can check in and make sure that they're staying on task, because then you will create repeat customers and clients. It's really, if people complete your programs, they will repeat with you, which is really, really great.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Because sometimes we think about launching that kind of the back end stuff. We should probably do a whole episode just on accountability because it's so important. And then you hit the sweet spot for a lot of coaching and a lot of consulting and even online programs. It's kind of like February, March, April. And I can tell you why I believe this. In early January, people have the illusion that they can do everything themselves and they actually don't need help. And so they know they want this year to be different. But by like February, mid-February, they're like, I created these goals and I haven't even moved forward. And it's almost like 2 months. And that's when they start to reach out because they realize they can't do it themselves and that they actually need some help. And so this is where pretty much any kind of offer will work from like February, March, April. And then, April, May, you're starting to get like the last kind of spring launch season, and it's still a good time to launch a program. It's kind of like one of the last windows, I think, is that's really great at the beginning of the year. When you hit the summer months, like in May, June, July, August, generally online sales go down because people like to travel. They like to get outdoors. There are some offers that work. Sometimes you'll see like book launches and different types of programs launch in there. Sometimes you'll see summits run kind of late spring. But in general, it's a really good time to actually create content or just nurture your audience, give them a lot of value. But like nobody wants to be taking an 8-week online course that's hours a day in the middle of the summer. Generally, there are a few exceptions, but yeah, it's kind of a good rule of thumb. And then we have the last kind of segment of the year, which is kind of like after Labor Day in the United States. It's like September, October, November. This is a good time to launch pretty much anything bigger. We like to launch our big summits in the fall. People come back. They want to end the year strong. And so it's a good time. You can get like a 3 or 4 month course in. You can do like a 90-day program, get it in before the holiday season. And so it kind of completes it. So the big, there's kind of these two really big zones where there's the spring push and then there's like a fall push. And then again, depending on what your industry is, if you're like selling books or products, or if you're selling vacations or whatever, or certifications, there's different times of years for every market. Now, what we wanted to kind of focus the next part of this podcast on is simply thinking about the, kind of what's happening in the market right now. As we're posting this, there's a few conflicts in the world and the economy is a little shaky. And, I think there's more competition than there's ever been online. And I think there's a lot of inflation. And so the market is definitely going through different cycles. And consumers are just being a little more careful right now. And I think the people generally feel a little anxious about everything that's happening in the world. And so that affects people. And so there are certain types of offers that are doing well, and but part of it is, whatever you offer, you don't work in isolation of the economy. So sometimes you can have a great offer and you just get the timing wrong. And so this timing aspect and understanding what's happening in the environment is so important.
Yeah, I have seen sales be a little tiny bit slower than anticipated or that we would have thought. And I can give you an example just on how to get those sales up. We have a storytelling course right now that we're launching with Sounds True. And if we just offered the 8 modules on storytelling that we're offering, which are great modules and super informative and super helpful, I'm not sure how the course would be doing, but a lot of people are buying it for our bonus stack, which is really specific applications of stories. So we have a TEDx expert, we have a guy who does movement storytelling, we've got one of the Sounds True staff who's doing book proposal. So the more specific you can get with your results that people are really, really wanting, the more likely you are to get them to enroll. And even when it's a little bit slow, and even if you feel like your offer is a little bit more spiritual in nature and people get all types of results, if you even can put together some bonuses that are very specific application of whatever it is that you're teaching, I think you'll do better now than maybe some other offers are doing out there.
Yeah, such a great point. And pricing can be really important in this type of market where there's a little bit more fear in the market. And often one of the most important things is to make the first sale, because once you can make the first sale and give somebody some kind of transformation, then you can sell them into the bigger program or into a membership or something like that. So I think through COVID, kind of in the middle of COVID, pretty much any offer you put out there worked pretty well. It could be a $300 offer, a $1,000 offer. But now we're seeing like entry offers of like $50 or $97 work. And the other aspect of that is if you do have like a $300 program or $1,000 thing, often the payment plan is more important. So if you can break the payment up into 3 payments or 5 payments or even 10 payments, sometimes a lower entry barrier, will encourage people to get in there. So I think payment plans during this kind of environment are really important. Any thoughts on that, Kylie?
I do think it's really important. And it just brings me back to the topic of audience building. So if you're going to do a lower ticket offer, you want to have a bigger audience. Otherwise it's, you work really, really hard and then you're kind of like, okay, I sold 5 of those. Whereas if you sell $5,000 offers, you're in pretty great shape. So if you're going to do lower ticket, I would definitely make sure that you're focusing a lot of your time on audience building. We've done entire episodes on getting on podcasts. We've done episodes on affiliate marketing. So those are some things you can do. You can also join our Soul Syndicate program, which is all about audience building. And it's not open to register all the time. But if you hear this podcast and you want more information, we could probably backdoor you in.
Yeah, just go to support@consciousmarketer.com and say backdoor into the syndicate or the membership site. I also want to just share some counterintuitive things. Sometimes in markets like this, there are definitely buyers, but maybe they've taken a bunch of courses and either they don't want to learn it themselves, and they don't even want to do it with you. That's done with you. They literally are like, I just need somebody to complete this and execute this. And so although the lower ticket offers are kind of a great way to get people into your community and to get them started creating the transformation and change, what also works in this kind of market, which is a little bit counterintuitive, is higher end offers like, hey, especially done for you offers, like rather than, hey, learn how to build a website, it's, hey, I'll build your whole website out for 5K or whatever your offer is. Or, hey, I'll take over all of your social media for X number of dollars per month. So you can kind of think through your offer. There are some offers that done for you doesn't make sense. Like you can't hire your fitness trainer to do laps for you around the gym. Or, so if you're wanting to train somebody in video, how to get on video, they have to actually do the work and get on video. So some higher end offers don't work that way, but some service industries do. And then the other types of opportunities when people are struggling financially, sometimes the types of offers where you're helping people to either monetize what they do or create like real businesses. So rather than have somebody train to get their own stuff in the world. You could help them to create a business where they were training other people to use their talent. So inside our business, Conscious Marketer, we will occasionally take people in and train them to help build their own agencies. We'll take like a handful of people, or Kylie, you've done some training to train people to do copy and stuff like that. So this is like a business opportunity for them. And so it's not so much a cost. It's like, hey, I'm going to learn this so that I can go make some more money in this difficult market.
Yeah, you always want to be really, really clear on outcomes. I think that's another way of saying what we already talked about. People will invest even when they're having a hard time in something where the outcome will give them more than you're asking them to invest in. So let's say we charge $20,000 to train a copywriter. Well, then I'm going to give them everything they need to make six figures off of that. And I really believe that that's possible, because when you look at the copywriting market, there's way more of a demand than there is really talented people that can fill those spots. There's a ton of copywriters, but there's more of a demand for it than there is. So I know that I can help someone turn that 20 grand into hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so I can be really confident in asking for that large of an amount of money. But what you really want to always be focused on is whether you're selling something for 97 or $100,000, you always want to make sure that you can deliver the results that are being promised. And of course, there's no guarantees. I can't guarantee that every copywriter I train is going to go out there and know how to get clients, but I know that I'm going to give them what they need to be able to do that. So you really want to have a promise that's believable and that's doable and people can see themselves doing it. And then you also want to make no guarantees. I was working with someone in our Soul Syndicate yesterday on our Q&A, and she was like, these are the results that I get for people. They get X, they get Y, they get Z, but I don't want to promise it. And I was like, why don't you just say, like, there's no guarantees in this work, but here's what other people experience when they join me for this program. And so that's like a good way to do a guarantee, so that people feel safe saying yes, and they feel like they can commit to working with you to get a specific result. And then you just can't guarantee it.
Yeah, that's such a great point. So be clear on the outcome and then say, look, this isn't typical, but if you do the work, and that's kind of a perfect lead in to our third point. So we've talked about seasonality in the market and kind of what's just a general framework. We've talked about the current market where there's a lot of fear. People are seeking safety, the types of offers. And the third thing that we want to talk about with you today about what's working now in the market is basically because people are buying fewer programs, because people are a little more strapped. There's this massive opportunity in the market now because people really truly need help. And so if you're like, you're a therapist, people need practical tools to manage their stress and anxiety. And so rather than leaning away and saying, look, the market's so difficult, people aren't buying, this is actually the time that people need you to show up with your gifts. It's they have these big problems. They're not regulating their nervous system. They're, if you're fitness or health, people are turning to food or to other substances because this is how they're managing their stress. So you can give them alternatives. If you're a meditation teacher, therapy, anything, or even just, the stress of running a business, if you're in helping people in marketing or some kind of sales, like they need clean solutions to help them perform better. And the corollary to this is when they do sign up for your programs, what you're going to find, I think, in today's market is people they have a much higher level commitment level because they're not joining everybody's program. So if they've joined your program, they're kind of going all in. What we're seeing is people who are buying or showing up for every call, and they're actually doing the work. And so not only is it a great time to market things to help people with specific problems, but the people that do sign up right now, I think I'm seeing a higher level of commitment because they're not happy with just getting information. They want to see like real tangible results. And it's for you as the mentor to guide them as to exactly how they can get that through your programs and transformations that you create.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with all that. And hopefully something that we've shared today will help you either with pricing or with confidence or with packaging your offers and just understanding and having empathy for what people are going through. I feel like if we if we always put empathy first and if we always put our audience first, we'll always know a way that we can help them in that time. You know, when people are under a lot of financial strain, we'll focus more on offering our $99 a month membership site. When things are looking good, we'll stack our mastermind with people because we know that people can afford that extra payment there, and it's a pretty big jump from one to the other. So, you know, having an ascension model too, where you have a lower ticket item and then a medium and then a high, is also really good, because then you can be flexible with like how you're putting people into that. But hopefully you got a little bit of value today, and yeah, we'll see you on the next podcast. I just wish you all the best in this current economy, and just know that if you can hold your ship steady through the ups and downs, you'll always be successful.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on the Conscious Marketer podcast. Do us a favor, go leave a review on iTunes or Spotify. It really helps us out to get the word out. And you can get the show notes, and also you can get the links to the YouTube videos if you go to consciousmarketer.com/podcast. We post the video on our site, and you can also click and watch it on YouTube as well. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks again, Kylie.